Hi everyone, my name is Tara, and I'm here to review the Nuuna notebook. So I've been bullet journaling for about a year now. 2019 was my first official bullet journal. I've been watching some YouTube videos and following some Pinterest boards before then, and last year I decided to, or I guess this year, because it's still 2019, I decided to go for it. And last year, technically last year, because it was around December, I picked up the Minimalism Art notebook, the special edition version. It's, I believe, 234 pages, 120 GSM, and it has 5mm spacing. It has 2 ribbons, hard cover, a little strap thingy, whatever these are called, elastic band to hold it together. And I was more or less satisfied with this book. However, through the year, I kind of petered off on my bullet journaling, as one does. I really only kept it up through August, and then my life became pretty hectic around that point. I had to move, I got a new job, so I kind of stopped journaling around then. And I wanted to pick it up again for the new year, and what better way to do that than to get a new notebook? So, one thing that I did notice that I didn't like about the Minimalism Art notebook is something that's very hard to avoid in bullet journals, and that's the dot spacing. And the dot spacing in here, like as it is in most bullet journals, is 5mm. So, to try something new, I'm the type of person, I have really small handwriting, or at least I can have really small handwriting, and I like it when I use my small handwriting. And I also just like the idea of having more dots on the page. So I went for the Nuuna. The Nuuna is special because it has 3.5mm dot spacing. The paper is a very bright white. Let's see. I don't know if that helps at all, but it's a very bright white paper. The dots, if you can see, are a very light gray and very close together. And there's a few things I really love about this notebook so far. I've had these for about a week. I have one for myself and one that I'm making for my little brother. Excuse the dog sneezing in the background. After setting up our 2020 yearly spreads and starting on our January spreads, my brother's dog is being a ruckus. Piper, please calm down. Thank you. I've noticed some pros and cons from these notebooks, and some things that have been discussed in other Nuuna reviews that I've seen online, and some that I haven't seen talked about. So, I'll get started by saying I love the colors, and all of the choices on the website are so beautiful. I went with the A5, the large, on their website, and I went for the light version, which is, I believe, 176 pages. Yes, 176. They also have a regular large version that's 256 pages. It's 120 GSM, but they use what they call their Mumkin paper. And I've heard some complaints online about the paper in regards to ghosting and not holding all pens super well. So even despite that, I decided I wanted to try it out because it's really hard to find notebooks with 3.5mm dot spacing. And that was a big perk for me. So I went ahead, not in this one. In this one, I did a pen test in the back. That's the front. As you can tell, I didn't really plan this video much. I'm new to filming YouTube videos, and this is just kind of an experiment for me, so play along. So, in the back of this book, I got my grid page here. So we have 56 spaces going down and 40 across. That is stunning. I love it. So many dots, and I marked the halfway points and the quarter-way points just for reference for when I'm going back and doing spreads. Like to know, be able to easily. First of all, I love, as opposed to the Minimalism Art, which I used last year, we had 27 across and 40 down. 40 down is great because it's a nice even number, divisible by 4, divisible by, 2 at least. 27 across is a little strange. It's kind of hard to get it halfway down. I had to split the 14th dot in half. So I like in this one, it's 40 and 56. Both of those are very divisible numbers. It makes setting up like very organized lines very easy. And then I did my pen test page in my brother's notebook. So I used the Tombow dual brush pens as my main source of color in my notebooks, but I also have these Le Stylo Futur, I don't speak French. These markers are also used for color in my books. So I have my Pigma Micron, my Muji pens, some random pens up here, and then all of my Tombow dual brush pens to test out. And I was a little concerned about the ghosting because I'd seen in some reviews that that's an issue. Look at that. Barely at all. A little bit with some of the brighter, darker colors. Like I believe this is a really deep blue here. But even, look, this is a Sharpie pen that I did these stars with. No bleeding with the Sharpies, just a little bit of ghosting. Not that I would use Sharpies very often in here anyways, but it's good to know that this paper can actually withstand quite a bit. So that's a plus. There's 176 numbered pages, so each of them have a nice subtle little number down at the bottom. This is the very back, so this is page 174. You probably can't see that, so I'm going to kind of describe as much as I can because I don't have a really good camera setup. So, well, what else? Oh, obviously, the colored binding. Look at that gradient. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. They have so many different options, and almost all, I believe all of their notebooks on the Nuuna website have these colored or gilded edges depending on which notebook you choose. So they have a very wide selection. They're a bit pricey, and they also ship from Germany. So this was definitely a splurge for me. These 2 notebooks, including shipping, was, I believe, 65 euros. Which is a lot, and in dollars that's even more. So, you know, it was definitely I want to commit to this new journal thing, so I'm gonna splurge and go for something that's a bit higher in quality, but maybe a little bit out of some people's price range, and that's totally understandable. I mean, these are like luxury notebooks. The covers are bound leather, but they also have vegan options on the website, so if you don't want the leather covers, they have a few options that are denim, and I believe they have faux leather covers as well. Don't cite me on that. Yes, so let's see, other features. There's no sort of standard, not standard, but like fancy bullet journal index in the front or any like introductory pages built in, which is something that I really love because personally, I don't use an index. I just keep a bookmark and I just flip to whatever pages I need, and it's pretty easy for me to remember like the general like spacing of things in my notebook. So I feel like last year I had an index and I didn't really keep up with it that much. So it was good for me that they didn't have it. So it just goes straight into the pages. And one other feature, and I believe this would probably annoy some people, but for me it's a plus, is that the dots don't go all the way to the edge of the page. So if you look, the dots end about, I don't know, a centimeter from the edge of the page all the way around, including in the middle. For me, this is really lovely because in the minimalism art, the dots go all the way to the end of the page, and that ends up leading to some variation in dot spacing, like the pages weren't perfectly aligned each time. So you'd have some dots that are like right on the edge of the page, and sometimes you'd open the page and the first dot is like a millimeter in, or 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, or even the full like 5 millimeters into the page. And it was just kind of unpredictable. So I like this setup because it's very predictable. Each page, exactly the same dot spacing. And if it holds flat. So like when you set it down on the table, the binding is flat. And so you can really, all of the dots line up from one side to the other. That's never going to be an issue. So if you're making lines on one side of the page and need to transfer that same line spacing over to the other side of the page, just put a ruler, you can connect one dot straight to the other. It's excellent. I really love that. That's really great for my the way that I do my calendars and everything. So now to some of the cons. So the price. Paying 30-ish euros for a notebook is definitely not ideal. The Minimalism Art Notebook, which was a pretty solid, good bullet journal. I would really, really recommend this journal for beginners or just anyone who doesn't want to invest a ton of money into their bullet journal setup but still want something cute and fancy. It's got the little gold embossing on the front. It's got a pocket in the back. It has a lot of those standard bullet journal features that a lot of people look for, but you can get these on Amazon for like 13 bucks. So, you know, I got another minimalism art notebook for this year, just in case the Nuunas didn't work out. So I have a nice fresh notebook in the orange waiting for me, so I can use that for whatever else. But the Nuunas do seem to be working for me. I just have a few cons with them other than the price. This has only happened with one of my notebooks, not the other, and I think it's just because of the way that the overlay on the cover is. So on this one, that's the coral to orange gradient. It's already starting the binding right here, the color. I don't know if you can see that really, but the color is starting to peel. And that happened on the first day of use, so that's not a great sign. These notebooks are flexible covers, and especially on this one, the way that the print is done on here is you have this red base and then it goes into the gradient using these like kind of embossed dots, like you can feel the texture on the page, and until it goes down to like the solid orange down here. And those orange dots, you can see underneath here, some of that coral base color is showing through. So that could be irritating if you're really about the aesthetics, keeping it very clean and tidy. You know, this is my brother's notebook. I asked him, he doesn't seem to mind too much. I haven't had that problem on my notebook just because I believe it's just a different style of print on here. It doesn't have any of those little dots. I think it's both the blue and the red are the base colors. It's not like there's just one base and then the other colors are on top of it. So, or maybe the blue is on top. I don't know. Either way, I haven't had that issue with this notebook. The binding is still perfect and beautiful and shiny. And of course the edges are beautiful and bright coral pink. This one I believe was called the Sakura notebook. So, and I don't remember. I think the other one was like hot, hot, hot or something. Who knows? You can go on their website. They have tons of different patterns to choose from, all of which I can tell would appeal to someone. So in this notebook, beautiful first page, the page that's like kind of like glued in. Haven't done anything with my first page yet. But yeah, for mine, I do really care about the aesthetics and keeping it neat and tidy. So I did buy a cover on Etsy for my journal. So that should be arriving soon. Wishing Whale Company, I believe, was I should look that up. Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh. I'll just cut this from the video. Going on Etsy, gonna figure out where I bought that book. I was right. Okay, so yeah, from Wishing Whale Company on Etsy, that's where I got the cover for this notebook, so hopefully it'll fit. They have an A5 cover. These are a bit bigger than your standard A5. I believe this minimalism art book notebook is a more typical A5 size, so if I compare the two, you can see it's a wee bit taller and a wee bit wider. It's something like 16.5 centimeters across, and 22-ish tall. But that's fine. I was able to find a notebook cover that fit it, so hopefully everything will work out just fine. And I guess I'll start my little flip through because I've already set up everything here. I'll start with my brother's notebook. So we have these little stamps that we got in a garage sale that says original, handmade with care. I thought that was super cute. So I put that little stamp in since I'm making it for my brother, and I just said from me to him. And then we also had this lovely floral stamp that has, it had some words in the center, but I just only used the floral border and then just put 2020, and then I guess I'll cover up his phone number there. So just, yeah, just a little quick 2020 intro page, nothing fancy. And then I would go straight into the future log. So he hasn't like written anything in this yet because I haven't actually, you know, handed it back over after I started making it. So I have this really bright future log set up for him. Pretty standard stuff here. I like to have a especially with this many dots, you really have a lot of space. You can see I got my handwriting nice and nice and small, nice and tiny for all of the dates here. And I was able to fit all 12 months on a 2-page spread, which I love. Especially since we got the light version of these notebooks, the one that are only 176 pages. I'm a little paranoid that it might run out before the end of the year, and I'm very particular about keeping one notebook per year. Like, I don't want to have to switch in the middle of the year. So trying to conserve space in here, basically, is what I'm saying. And then the next pages, I have a page for shows and movies that he watches, and then video games that he plays in 2020. So just placed, this is what we're watching in 2020, and then places to put a title and whether or not he started and finished each one, and then a reading list where you can put titles and authors, and then the start and finish date for everything. I just took the model for the book reading page off of Pinterest. Sorry, I don't have a credit for that, but it was used by a lot of different people. I don't know who the original designer of this setup is. I just used some washi tape and some colored markers. He wanted like kind of sunset-y sky and sunset colors for his yearly setup pages. So that's what I got for him. And then my brother's super artistic. He does wonderful, wonderful art. So I just did this like basic kind of brain dumpy project ideas page where he can just put, just jot down some notes and ideas for projects he's working on that he might not have someplace else to write a note for. And then I did like a wish list page so he can kind of have a running wish list of things that he either wants as a gift or maybe saving up for throughout the year. These are all things that I like discussed with him ahead of time. Like, what do you want in your yearly setup? What do you want in your monthly setup? What do you want with your weeklies? And then, yeah, so he wanted to go for themes for each month. And I'm a bit of an artist myself. No, not really, but, you know, a little bit. And he gave me a list in my other bullet journal, my 2019 one, of about like 15 theme ideas that he had. And he has some really creative ideas in there. And so my idea was for each month, I'm going to just choose one of the themes he gave me, do some art for it, use that as the basis for my color palette in his journal, because I'm going to do just his month by month, like a standard bullet journal, set it up each month at a time. So it's a secret, because I haven't told him which theme I've done for January, but I chose glaciers and icebergs, which was one of the ones on his list. So here is a little January introductory page with a little iceberg and a little puffin. Thought that was super cute. I'm not like one of those super fancy, like, see, for the rest of it, it's just super minimal. I just have the calendar with some like glaciers underneath. The 40 dots across is excellent because you can just do 10 spacing. You got 4 on one side, 3 on the other, 10, these are all 10 across, 8 up and down, just to leave some space for doodles underneath. Used my glittery gel pens for the dates and everything. I have a page for his habit tracker and January goals and tasks. So for the habit tracker, he gave me 5 habits, and then I just made a 6th little calendar here in case he wants to add something else. So pretty simple, just standard stuff, you know, take your medication, mindfulness, work on art, fitness, and then make sure that he takes out his dog a couple times a day. She's napping on the bed now, she's finally quiet. And then it goes right into his weeks. So the weekly setup, since this is his first bullet journal, I decided to start kind of simple. I do either 1 page per week or do a full 2-page spread for 2 weeks. So that's what I have here. So for weeks 1 and 2 of January, it goes across just Sunday to Saturday. And then each of these little dots, there's 5 little raindrops per day, and those are for tracking water. So making sure you're getting 5 glasses of water each day, Jack. And then it's pretty standard, a couple pages of that. He also wanted a page to kind of do some dream journaling in case he forgets his dreams and wants to write them down as soon as he wakes up. So I just left a little page for that. And that's pretty much it for his setup. And I'm not totally done with setting up mine how I want it, but I'll show you what I have so far. I decided to go with this very like blues and silver and gray theme for my yearly setup, just something very pleasing to the eye and simple. I have a silver gel pen that I like to use. So here is my future log. As you can see, I was a little bit more like using a ruler and making sure everything was like picture perfect for mine compared to his, because I'm a little bit more anal about that sort of thing. So again, super tiny numbers on that 3mm dot spacing. I really love it. It suits my style and my handwriting really well, especially because it is a bigger book. It's that nice combination of the smaller spacing, but with a lot of space to use it. So I really love that. I really love that feature. And then I have my reading list for the year, and I decided to do a 20 goals for 2020. And then up here in Arabic, I have a little prayer, a little dua for success in the new year, and just for, you know, a little something for my little Muslim brain. And my reading list just has author, title, the date that I start, and the date that I finish. So I'm pretty ambitious here. I put enough spaces for 25 books, so we'll see. I don't know if I'll read 25 books in 2020, but that would be nice. And then I have my little running wish list and a little page for project ideas for me. I don't do as much art as him, so I just gave myself the one page. But you know, if I end up using up all the space to jot down notes, I can always give myself another page later on in the book. And then I go straight into my calendars, and I've decided to set this up a little differently than usual. So I've decided to front load my bullet journal with all of my calendars for the year. So it's almost just like having a normal calendar that I can just flip through. So as we see, we have January, and then if I can flip the page, February, March. Some of them, the pens were a little darker, so I didn't do drop shadows for because I was afraid it was going to bleed through. And then I have, yeah, just all these little calendar pages. What is that? July, August, and this is the last one I have done, September. So that's as far as I've gotten in my bullet journal. And then I skipped enough pages to leave room for October, November, December. And after that, I have another little Muslim-y page here. So this is going to be my 2020 Quran tracker. So see, each box represents one surah. So I'll just be able to go through and like check off how many times I read each surah through the year, see if I get all the way from 1 to 114. It's just a little goal. I have a separate Quran journal that I keep, so this is just kind of like a one-page thing, just kind of because I love tracking things. It's just so much fun. And then I also have 366 because next year's a leap year. Don't forget that, everybody. Don't forget to add February 29th to your calendars. 366 days of Fajr. So this is my goal for the year, one of my resolutions. I don't have a lot of like New Year's resolutions usually, although I did give myself that 20 goals for 2020 page. But one of my resolutions is to wake up for Fajr, wake up for morning prayer every day. That probably won't happen, but you know, it's worth tracking. It's worth keeping a journal of. It's worth, to me at least, it's worth attempting. So yeah, so I'm gonna finish making those calendar pages for the beginning of the year. So I have January through December in here, and then I'll just be able to, you know, treat those almost as like the future log, but kind of just a bit more space for each day, so I can really plan out certain days and certain events in advance. And then I'll start working on my January pages, which I haven't started on yet. So all in all, I would say that the Nuuna notebook is worth the investment for me. Again, about 30 euros per notebook. That's after shipping to the US. I'm saying a lot because I'm not used to being on camera. I don't do this, so this is fun. I also have some footage of me setting up the journals. I might add that to the video. I'm not sure. It depends on how well I am at figuring out how my iMovie program works, because again, new to this. But all in all, I would say that these journals are very beautiful. They're excellent if you have small handwriting, excellent if you're looking for a little bit more space, a little bit of more flexibility with that 3mm or 3.5mm dot spacing. I love that it's like bright white pages. It's not creamy at all. I've never even tried like the Leuchtturm or similar journals because I've just seen from reviews that the pages are too creamy for me. I like to use a lot of color, and I like that color to really pop on the page. So yeah, I'm really satisfied with these notebooks. One more time, I'll show you my pen test just so you can see just a wee bit of ghosting, even from the Sharpie up top, these little gold Sharpie stars. Really, really satisfied with the paper quality despite some of the other reviews I've seen. So I don't know what pens other people use, but I figured the Tombow dual brush pens are a pretty common bullet journaling item. Obviously the Sakura Micron works perfectly on here, so do the Muji 0.38 pens. And yeah, I'm very happy with these journals. I would say I'm less happy with this one because of that, I don't even know what you'd call it, the tearing on the external coating on here. Also, this one I've noticed with the little textured dots, it picks up dirt a little bit easier, so it doesn't stay clean as easy. So I might go ahead and get my brother a cover for his too, but again, I don't know how much he cares. But yeah, that was my 2020 bullet journal setup / Nuuna notebook review. I hope you found it useful. Who knows if I'll make another YouTube video again. This was just kind of an experiment. But my name's Tara. It's been fun. Maybe I'll see you again. Bye-bye.